Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm going to talk about the role of trauma in type development. It plays a significant part in kind of forging the person that we become, or, it presents us with the opportunity to react in the ways that we've chosen. And at its core, really, it really does play a big role. So, in an innate wiring kind of way, trauma isn't causing our personality type in that way, but it can have an effect in what we wind up doing with our life in terms of like life trajectory. Some people react in a way of like, hey, I'm going to be successful no matter what. I'm going to accomplish. Like, I'm not going to let things that happen to me define me. It could cause them to want to, prove something, or lots of different types of responses from negative events that we've gone through. So not really, not everybody's the same in how they deal with things, but yeah, so it has an effect in that way. And then in terms of like the Enneagram, it really is the catalyst for our chosen um, mechanisms, our chosen coping strategies. Um, yeah, that leads us to how we decide to navigate life. Sometimes we go through things that we're like, I don't ever want to, experience that again, or I'll make sure that never happens again. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Um, yeah, I'm going to take care of myself, or, um, yeah, it has a lot to do with the beliefs we've chosen to believe about ourselves as a result of traumatic experiences. Um, yeah, it's that place that's close to home at some point that then leads to um, either shutting things out or feeling overly defined by it. It can have a lot to do with memory loss, a lot of stuff. But yeah, so I this is something that's been incredibly valuable for me to heal from things that's occurred in my life. And yeah, um for me to wake up and see my patterns, to see how I was dealing with things, how I have a tendency to manage emotional things, or um, yeah, it's played a big part in how I've reacted to life, how I've like chosen to protect myself and stuff like that. So yeah, trauma really plays a significant role in what we become. And the beautiful thing is that we're able to wake up from that autopilot place um, that we have cultivated over our life through what worked for us as kids, and what we continue to do throughout our adulthood as well. So, um, yeah, it's really important to be able to like see and make new decisions, and um, understand that um, we can move beyond these things and not allow them to dictate where we go, what we become, um, whether we fulfill everything that we're born to do, or like what's in us, that what's in us can still come up, and places where trauma um, led to us suppressing things or giving up on things, that there is a way out of those um, darker places that leads to addiction and leads to all kinds of different things. Um, yeah, that um, We can learn to be at rest with ourselves, to love ourselves, to rediscover, to come to new conclusions about ourselves or about other people. And yeah, because what we believe about ourselves, it really affects the life we can see for ourselves, what we feel matches us, what we accept, what we reject, what we're letting in, right? And yeah, um, it's extremely important to process trauma verbally in safe places, to start to um, sit in a real place of self love, to reassess moments, because in whatever it was, whether it's being yelled at or being talked down to or being abused, or there's such like a wide variety of experiences that can cause children, or trauma can happen at an older age as well, but that can kind of splinter you within yourself. And then you have to somewhat decide how you're going to manage that, or what you're going to believe about it, how you're going to maybe try to prevent things in the future, or, whatever. The way it shifts how you assess your own value based on things you walk through. There's so many different possibilities of conclusions one could come to, like post traumatic experience. So, but yeah, it plays a huge part in whether we fulfill our potential, or even some people's unhealthy drive for like, I've got to be at the top. I've got to prove so and so wrong. I've got to, barrel all the way up the mountain because that's where I have value, and there can be like a little grain of something negative and painful driving what people accomplish, and in another person, it's why they never did accomplish what was in their heart to do, why their gifts wasn't used in a way that was beautiful, that was expression of who they are and value to the people around them, valuable to the people around them. Yeah, so I think it plays a really big part, and because it plays such a big part, I think it needs to be looked at, because it is a factor in the human experience. Whether it's a car accident or a parent dying, a sibling dying, like all these moments are painful and not, something that I think the mind wants to look at much. There's lots of different responses to trauma. I've actually got a couple definitions here that were just kind of some plain good things to kind of look at. So yeah, trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or natural disaster. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, or even physical symptoms like headaches and nausea. Another definition: trauma is a person's emotional response to a distressing experience. Few people can go through life without encountering some kind of trauma. Most important, events are traumatic to the degree that they undermine a person's sense of safety in the world and create a sense of catastrophe, or a sense that catastrophe could strike at any time. And there's a pretty cool image that had like a bunch of side effects, I guess, of trauma. Intrusive memories. Let's blow this image up a little bit. A startle response, shame, self-hatred, panic attacks, emotional overwhelm, chronic pain, headaches, eating disorders, substance abuse, self-destructive behaviors, little to no memory, hypervigilance, disassociation, depression, irritability, loss of interest, numbing, insomnia, decreased concentration, hopelessness, nightmares, flashbacks. So, yeah, those are actually extremely common of people dealing with one or more of those things. Um, yeah, trauma can affect what you use your wiring for. It can cause, it can change the course of your life. So, yeah, when I think about innate wiring, trauma doesn't cause what your giftings are, what your innate cognitive processes are, but they can affect how you use them going forward. Like the same cognitive process that could cause someone to be extremely good at sports and athletics and like reaction time could also be why that function could be used for like a crack addiction as well. Like the binging on like the new, gotta get high, gotta experience something. Like it can be used in positive ways that it was, you know, given for, that someone was made for, or it can be used in another way. It could be so many examples where there's like original intent and then what we can do with it as a result of trauma, or how we cope with things, how we self-medicate. And in a lot of ways, every person's different, but somebody could use their gifting who's really good in business to be just like addicted to climbing the ladder because it's like they're overcoming something that was blocked out. To put it plainly, most times traumatic events are blocked out. They're like, oh yeah, that didn't bother me, I don't care about that no more. I just care about climbing this ladder. I just care about uh whatever their chosen medicine is. And I think it's really important because all these different things that we could do as a trauma response, the things in of themselves aren't bad, but if the root of trauma isn't dealt with, it could be the hidden driving force that's still eating away at our quality of life and not being able to really enjoy what we have, enjoy what we've attained in success. So the positive sides aren't always positive. We can blatantly see when someone's, struggling to just, have a good mental state whenever the trauma is very present for them. But also people who have disassociated and pushed things down. It could be also why there's no satisfaction in the things that they do. Or, yeah, it's just, there's such an array of options in our humanity. We're all so different. But, yeah, so I guess in summary, trauma really does play a big part. In terms of the Enneagram, it's like pretty much the core thing that is assessed, and that as you can sit back and self-reflect and be willing to see what you're running from, what you're trying to attain, you can see your core type. So on the Enneagram side of things, trauma is like the most present thing being looked at to see that type development. And yeah, because it's a significant part, it does need to be looked at. So just keep that in mind as we progress in understanding ourselves, that Healing is something that we need, and I heal from things every day. And the more willing I am to see myself and to process and learn to love myself and value myself, value seeing what I need. I've had a new practice of every day I write what I want and I write what I need. And just being honest, I do it like journaling to God of, yeah, the desires of my heart and also what I need, what I'm lacking, this core word is need, right? Just being honest, like, what do I need in this moment? And start to love yourself in that present moment and letting yourself, in seeing yourself express what you need, and just to start to make room in your own life and make time for you, for your own value, for your own processing. And I feel that quality of life is what life is about. And as we can get honest with ourselves and get the treatment, counseling that we need, and maybe that is just journaling, whatever that looks like for you, whatever stepping into health looks like for you. Just know that you're worth it, because life is fully based on the first person view, the first person perspective we all live in of life. We have been given life. It's the gift that we are. And we're all responsible for our own quality of life. And someone else may have done something that lessened the quality of your life. But at this point in our adulthood, we're responsible for the quality of our life. We're responsible for our healing. We're responsible for processing things differently now. We're responsible for our mental health, our self-assessment. We have to take the time to be honest and be like, what do I believe about myself? Because what I believe is affecting the reality I live in. I am creating it. I am cultivating the world that I live in by what I believe about myself, about the world. And as we get honest with ourselves, those beliefs were shaped in moments of trauma, in our response to trauma, the decisions we made after trauma. We didn't pick our wiring, but we picked our responses. We picked our pursuits. We picked our avoidances. And as we zoom out and see our lives from a bird's eye view of the whole story, our patterns have a lot to do with the circumstances in our life. And trauma plays a significant role in that. So yeah, I just encourage you, take the wheel of your own life. Tell an honest story to yourself, because you owe it to yourself for your own growth, your own development. Don't let shame, don't let fear, don't let anger, don't let blame, regret, guilt cause you not to tell an honest story to yourself today. Forgive yourself, forgive other people, and start to dream again. Start to ask yourself what you would do if these things hadn't happened to you? Who do you want to be going forward? How do you want to treat people, right? Start to be clear about what you are lacking, what you need, what you want in your life, and start to cultivate that. Because your life will only be what you dream it to be, what you come into agreement that it can be. And this is how we overcome. This is how we move past these things. And it's in honest self-assessments. And if we continue to block sections of our life out, it doesn't make them go away. They operate under the surface unconsciously, still dictating the moves we make. And yeah, so I just encourage you to continue to love yourself and take that next step in your growth journey, in your personal development. To rediscover what you were born for, what you were made to do. And change really is possible when you decide to. When you decide to introduce a new habit, a new pattern, a new exercise, that is in alignment with your value, with believing something new. And sometimes to believe something new, you got to see what you do believe. You got to know where you're starting from. And that's really important. And yeah, that's where typology comes into play. It's who you are, what you're doing, where you're starting from. And knowing that that is a root core thing, but you can look at those tools that you've got, that you're starting with, right? I'm doing life with these tools. And you can start in honesty to start to cultivate something beautiful out of these colors, right? You've seen what artists can do with the same colors of paint that we all have? That's life. That's what our life is. And that's what our life can be. A beautiful work of art. Sometimes people who've been through some of the hardest things can create the most beautiful things. Because, yeah, we're creative people. We are made in the image of God. We create. And we can create with what we've been given. Not all things we've gone through we would have ever chosen. But we can create with what we've been given. We can create with who we are, with what's been done to us, and what we've done. And yeah, life is a beautiful thing, and people have value. You are valuable. Start believing it one day at a time, one moment at a time. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Continue to take time for you. Quality of life has everything to do with how you see yourself and what you're letting yourself envision. As our internal monologue changes, our life changes. So yeah, continue to grow. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I pray you have a blessed one. And yeah, I'm excited for what's happening in my life, and I'm excited to have you on this journey with me as well. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can email me. You can check out my website if you'd like to be typed or just to chat. You can go to my website, typologycorner.com. It's in the description. And yeah, I'm available. So yeah, well, have a blessed day, and God bless you.